There's YouTube Comic Cons.
I know what you're talking about. I seen that. But no, it's like a Comic Con, but it's for all people that are on YouTube. You can go to this thing, meet people. Like they give all types of like advice on how to start making money off your YouTube, how to get your follow, like all types of shit or whatever. She's like, I mean, my daughter got a lot of good advice. She said, but who knew that there were so many like millionaires off of YouTube?
Yeah.
And you get like plaques, like after how many, depending on how many followers you have, you get different plaques and all types of shit.
That's where them subscriber things coming from.
Views on a video,
that too, yeah. Depending on like views and like how many subscribers you get, because then you can say that's like X amount of people. 1 million subscribers, man. I have 1 million people that every time I post something on YouTube, it pops up on their stuff. Yeah. Yeah, and I didn't know that's what subscribe meant for a minute but I watch a ton of podcasts. That's cool. Yeah, we're going to get some people subscribing on the Artists Podcast pretty soon, but that was a nice little intro. I'm so hyped to be here. You like how we got that rolling? You didn't even know we got that rolling, huh?
No.
You didn't even know that. Yeah, see, keep it organic. I like doing that. Yeah. Look, she over there like, it's okay though. That was a good conversation. I didn't know some of that stuff.
Slid that in.
Yep, yeah. And then worse, you can always edit stuff out or whatever. But yeah, that was a little jewel. But, it's the Artist Podcast. Still not sure which episode it is yet. We still getting that lined up. I got a few on deck, but this one's really, really exciting to me. Because for one, I'm home back in Missouri, so that's pretty cool to say the least. And I'm with my fam right now. Artist Podcast, y'all know what it is. We're going to make cool art and have cool conversations with other creative people as well. And on this one, I have my cousin, Tiera, who makes some of the illest cakes and cupcakes that I have ever seen. And I didn't even know this till I just told her until I think a few months ago or something. It wasn't that long ago, maybe a year ago, but just I can't even, it's hard to even explain how dope, because I've seen a lot of people that make some cool cakes, but I remember your Cookie Monster that had like the textures of his fur on there, and some of these ones
that took forever.
Did it take forever? Man.
Like 3 minutes just for one cupcake.
Yeah, and that's cool. Yeah, oh yeah, because there were a whole bunch of cupcakes. See, I'm thinking it was one big cake. So every now and then you make a big cake that has a really awesome design, and some of them are double layers with cool stuff on top, and then sometimes you make a whole bunch of cupcakes that are really nice too. But I guess to get it cracking, how long have you been baking, or how long did you know that you loved to bake to this extent?
So it's probably been about 6 years.
6 years?
6 years ago. But I stopped I had a couple surgeries, so I stopped for about 2 years. And I'd say maybe a year and a half, I started, getting more serious about it and taking more orders and
right.
And that long.
It's so cool, and that's the part that like really, really attracted me. I think from your Facebook page, just because I knew these were orders for a lot of people, to the point to where I think you get, I'm almost positive you get way more commissions than I'm getting right now, which it's not a contest, but that makes me hype. I'm like, yeah, my cousin's out here killing it.
I'm just trying to be up there with you.
Yeah, well, we both out here, creating a lot. But so when you started with did you start with cakes and cupcakes at the same time? Or what did you start baking first?
Started with cupcakes.
Cupcakes?
The plan, I didn't think I could do anything with cakes. So I just thought, I like baking, so we'll do something simple, and I could take a cupcake and make it into so many different flavors. So I started baking different flavored of cupcakes, taking them to work, having people try them, and
that's smart.
Got orders like that. So that's how that started. And then someone asked for a cake, and I did it.
Man, that's nuts. So because I love trying to poke at people's passions and find I think every human on earth has something that they are extremely passionate about, whether they know it or not. For the longest, I didn't know drawing was mine, and I've been doing it for so long. Like everybody knows, I've been drawing for a really long time, but I always I treated it like a side girl, like a plan B. I just didn't really love her like that, and I fell back in love with it. But when was the point where you like really fell in love with baking to the point to where you knew like you like doing it like to the level you are now? Like, do you remember that moment? I guess I'm asking.
Yeah, so I was, it was when I was doing Miss Elma's wedding cake. That was the first cake that I ever did. It was a disaster, but I did it because she told me she wasn't getting anyone else, so I did it. And there was a moment when, while I was decorating, I don't know, it might sound a little corny, but I just felt like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. It was like a feeling that I really can't explain, but I just knew that at that moment, that was what I wanted to do. Like, it was nothing else, but that was what I wanted to do. And whatever it took, I was going to have to, find the resources and build my craft. So that's what I did.
Right. Yeah. Those moments I think are incredible when that moment hits that you found what I mean, or something. Maybe it found you, or at least I think that it's kind of like that with me. I think art kind of found me in a sense. I didn't really think about it too much. It kind of just came back into my lab after I quit high school.
Well, that and the fact that, which I mean, still, like, I have a problem with believing myself, but then I really didn't believe in myself, and Miss Elma believed in me, and everyone around me was like, no, you can do this. So
she kept pushing you to make a cake.
And with that push, it was like, okay, I can do this. Like, it's not in my head, like, I can do this. So so it just kind of took off from there.
Yeah, I love when those moments happen. If you could, what do you think that it is about baking that attracts you to the point of why you love it so much?
Because I can do anything I want with it. Food, it's universal. Who doesn't like food or sweets, and you can literally take anything and make it into a flavor or to a cake, and that's what I like about it. There's, like I said, no one will turn down food, so.
Right, word, yeah. Especially not cakes and cupcakes, because this is for every kid's birthday.
Exactly.
For at least like the first few years. Not every kid, of course, but I mean, like
most kids, the cake is it's the most exciting part.
Right. So, how about in terms of the diving into the more creative side of it? I guess. Do you think? How would you describe your style, or is there a certain style of cakes that you think you like making the most? I don't know cake terminology like that, so forgive me. But is there
me neither? So you're forgiven.
Thanks.
Not really. I pretty much just go with it. People tell me something that they want, or I look up stuff all the time. I Google and YouTube, so I might see something. I'm like, oh, I like that, and I just figure out how to do it and work at it. Right now, I'd say my favorite thing is working with just buttercream and making flowers. I'm really fascinated with that right now, so that's what I'm trying to perfect.
That's cool. That's super cool. So you said in terms of like pulling influence from like Google and YouTube. So like when you have the idea and you see someone else's cake, I'm assuming, or you see other designs, and then
I figure out how to make it my own. How
incorporate that.
Right, or change it up just a little bit to where it's my style and, not something that they did.
Right. Do you have what's like one of the first ones? Do you have a memory in particular of one that besides Miss Elma's cake, like when you finally started to getting into like these different designs and starting exploring in some of these really creative type
it's just
intricate cakes?
Within the last year and a half, that's when I've started getting more creative.
Okay.
Because before it was more like character cakes, I used maybe one or two tips that I knew how to use, and worked it that way. But now I'm doing the more shaping and more fondant work and creating my own, cake toppers and things like that. So the work is a little bit more intricate now, I guess, than it was, I'd say, 4 years ago.
Okay. So does it require a lot of tools to do it?
A lot of tools, depending on what I'm making. Mostly, it's just my hands. Everything is pretty much done. That's the most important tool. But I do have smaller cutting tools, and of course my rolling pin. I use that a lot. a lot of shaped molds and cookie cutters and things like that, you know, I use, but that's about it.
That's dope though. So how do you, I remember seeing like a Facebook post or something in terms of like you having to order supplies and things like that. How did you get through that challenge? Because I can relate to that challenge of needing supplies to have to accomplish something that you might not have done before, but you know you need something new. How did you get to that challenge, or how did you get through some of these challenges when you felt like stumped in your process? Or what do you think it is about yourself that I guess gets you through some of those challenges? Because like you said, we doubt ourselves as artists. But
yeah, and that's what I was gonna say. That's the
Yeah.
biggest thing. Like, honestly, I am my worst critic. So
Right.
people, every time someone asks me for a cake, every time someone asks me, you know, and they send me a picture and they're like, "Can you do this?" I promise you, I look at my best friend and I'm like, I can't do this. Like, I'm gonna tell them no. You know, like, I've never done this before. Like, this ain't gonna work. So, you know, I'm like, no, I can't do that. And she's like, yes. I'm like, no, look at that. You know, and she's like, you can do it. So, really, YouTube is my best friend. I YouTube a style or what I think, you know, they might have done on this cake or whatever, and I watch it maybe 1 or 2 times, and I get my stuff out and I work at it. A lot of times I get it on the first try. So
Swag.
right,
Go
right.
ahead, stunt. Yeah, you go ahead, girl.
So I mean, it actually works because, you know, like I said, I doubt myself so much.
Right.
I still just the other day was just, you know, telling my sister and my friend, like, I don't know if I can continue doing this, just because finding the resources, it is hard, you know, like being by myself and I've got bills, like I've got real life going on right now, you know, and so trying to take care of life and my passion, it's expensive, but it's what I want to do, so I find a way.
Right, yeah. In those moments, by the way, and I think because I've had that happen many a times, looking at an image, whether I'm about to try a sculpture or many times drawing for me or paintings. I've done a few paintings, so I'm like, there's no way. Like, there's no fucking way. How am I about to do this? But then something in your mind is crazy enough to be like, fuck it, I'm gonna try anyway.
Yep.
In your case, you got the homie that like will help push, and I think that's amazing too. I've needed teachers sometimes to like, dude, just try it. Like, I think that's so super important to have somebody to give that push. Sometimes it's easy to doubt yourselves, but I know them feelings afterwards feel so good, right?
Does.
Like,
It does.
it's like an outer body experience almost, right? Because like you're like, I did that. Like,
I'm telling you, and after every little thing, I'm like, come look, like,
right, it's hard not to
like, look at
stunt,
what
right?
it looks like.
Yeah. Like, I think some people can get that misunderstood. It's so hard not to stunt afterwards when you really didn't think you could do it. Like, you was like, nah, like, I don't think it could happen. And then you do it. Of course we're gonna do the touchdown dance.
And when you feel like, you know, like when you know that you are good at what you do, but you doubt yourself, like sometimes, because people don't believe me when I'm like, I really didn't think I can do that, or, you know, I'm like, they're like, you know, and I'm like, no, like, I really don't think, you know.
I was scared of shit.
So yeah, when I'm done, I'm like, yes, you know, it's the best feeling when you drop it off. You know, I drop off my cake, like I had a cake yesterday, and I dropped it off, and I actually had put off doing the cake topper. I should have started it on Monday, but I put it off all week because I was like, I don't know if I can do this. It's not gonna look like what she wants. But I told her I would do it, and she's already paying for it, so I have to deliver. But when it all came through and I delivered the cake, and just seeing the reaction, you know, of her and, you know, and everyone around, and then I'm like, even though just 20 minutes ago while making the cake, you know, down to the last minute trying to get everything done, and I'm like, fuck this.
Right.
This will be the last order I take. I'm not doing this anymore. You know, like, get on my Facebook and tell everybody that I'm done. You know,
I'm
like,
done with this
right?
shit,
I told her, I said, I'm
man.
putting a Facebook message up. I'm done. And after I dropped the cake off, I'm like, okay, you know,
Right,
like,
that
I can do
reaction,
this.
yes, like, oh, that's what I do it for, like,
Yeah, that's the
seeing
best.
cats.
It's the best.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And to think
Super.
it's just a cake, you know, at first I'm like, it's just a cake. It can't make some, you know, like, it's not going to make anyone that happy, but you see these kids' face, or or I took an anniversary cake to someone, and when I took it out the box, like she literally just bawled, just started crying, and
Yeah,
so
it's yeah, I can't even talk about that enough just to see those reactions. Like to know that like your hands and your mind putting those two together, doing something you didn't even think you could do, you literally made somebody cry.
Yeah.
Or just brought them the most joy that you like they've had at least all day, or just oh man, it's that emotions that, or being able to inspire that or bring that out. It's unexplainable.
It is.
It's amazing. That's when you really like, yo, this is a calling. Like I must have meant to be doing this. But you said something just a second ago about like you when you said something about putting something off. It was on Monday, but went through on you started on Tuesday or something like that. Forgive me. But so you have a process to this. How long do you think each cake makes? I know that can vary a lot, but how long do you think on average making one of your cakes makes?
So on average, I'd say depending on the cake, which most of them are 2 to 3 tiered, I probably work on a cake for more than 15 hours. And it's just me. I don't have any assistants. So literally, and I work a full-time job Monday through Friday. So literally Monday through Friday, after I get off work around 3:30, I do what I have to do. I come home and I start working on stuff. If I have a cake that weekend, I start working on things because I need certain things to dry, or, just I don't have the time. I know I'm not going to have the time. And then Saturdays and Sundays, I'm up 4 o'clock in the morning, and I probably usually have to deliver a cake by, I'd say 3 o'clock is the average time. So from the time I wake up to the time I drop off that cake, I'm working on the cake. I don't eat. I don't even think I take a drink.
Wait a minute. For one, that's not healthy, fam. Take some water breaks. But like, take some water breaks before you pass out on the cake. But hold on. In one day, like just like it's a 15-hour shift, and
basically, my friend comes over when she wakes up and to keep me company, but. That's I'm up earlier on the weekends and working longer on the weekends than I am Monday through Friday.
During the week. Lead up to it.
She does. Okay. Yeah. Sometimes things go. So what kind of things have to get prepped? Yeah. Like I have no idea about
prepping. Like if I'm making flowers for a cake, I need them to dry, and if I want them to look a certain way, so I may have to make those 3 or 4 days before the cake.
Okay. The things that go on top of the cake.
Exactly, and most of those things take an hour or more, just to create. Decorations, I guess. Whatever decoration I'm adding to the cake, whether it be a little figure or whatever, I have to work on that throughout the week to get it done. So that way on Saturday, yesterday I had a cake, for instance. I got up at 7. From 7 I start doing all the last minute stuff on the decorations, like all the final touches on all that, and then I start building my cake, and then adding the decorations and things like that. So
my mind is just blown right now. One day that has to be so stressful. Like, what if?
It's stressful.
So yeah, because these are commissions, yo. So like within this process, the 15-hour process that could be. You're making a delicate thing. It could be easy within a 15-hour process to do something that literally like
it's
ruined
cut
the
and
cake.
Gone in 2 seconds.
Right.
Yeah.
So has this have you ever? There's so many questions that just with that alone. Have you ever had to have that happen and then not got the cake done?
No.
I'm stunned on them niggas.
So
time out. You've had some moments where like you getting it in probably maybe like halfway through with the cake, messed that whole thing up, had to start over, and you still got them done every time.
Usually, I might have to call them and tell them I'm going to be about 20 minutes late, but
right.
But exactly,
Clutch,
the cake will be there.
That's what I'm talking about.
And most people say that's okay. The cake is the last thing, So
right, that makes so much sense. You fine. You do your thing.
Yeah, so it works.
Oh, that's so dope. That's
But
crazy.
I mean, this is, people are like, I want to come over.
Well, the last piece she hasn't, but every cake for a while it was, I quit. I'm done. She has one moment during each cake, just one tiny 2-minute moment,
I
little
cry.
tantrum, yeah. Aw.
and I'm here to
Like
tell
every
her,
time.
Every time.
I'm here to tell her, calm down. You got this. You're fine.
I
You're
love
almost
it.
there.
Because
love
something
it.
always happens. Like,
I love it.
it's
love
one
it.
thing, you know, like when, I don't know if you've ever watched Cake Boss or, you know, anything like that. Cake Wars, any type of cake show. But, you know, you go to the bakery and you see there's like 5 or 6 people in this bakery that, or, you know, if they're working on a cake, there's at least 2 people that are working on this cake together. I'm doing every little thing on my own, you know.
Right.
So it's everything. So I'm trying to make sure that the cake is in the fridge, you know, the icing is cooling on the cake like it's supposed to be, and it's in there for a certain amount of time, so that way when I pull it out, if I'm covering it in fondant, or I have to worry about the venue, you know, if it's going to be too hot, then I got to figure out, okay, I need it to set for this long, so that way it doesn't melt, and, you know, and things like that. So, I have to worry. I don't have anyone that I can be like, while I focus on this, can you make this? Or, you know,
Can
like,
you keep the room cool
exactly,
enough for me,
you know,
right? Like you don't have that.
So I'm in here and literally like I'm cussing and I'm getting mad. I have attitudes.
Nice spot.
And people are like, I want to come watch you make a cake. No, you don't. Not like what you see on Facebook is.
See, I'm a glutton for punishment. I think I would love it, yo. Like, I probably just sit here and draw for real and do my own thing, and then as soon as you get your frustration mode, like, yo, hey, like, and I
That's how
probably,
I am.
right, yeah, you probably, yeah, exactly. You just sit and chill and.
Got this, like, it's
hilarious.
nothing.
And she be so
Stressing.
calm too. Like I'm
But
sitting here throwing
she'll
shit.
look at something
'cause-
that I look at as perfect, and she's like, "I messed it up. I fucked it up.
Girl,
Actually,
yeah.
it's just ruined."
The perfectionist in you, yeah. Like,
But
it's just,
you're not.
It is, you know, like you have that vision and you know what you want it to look like, and then
Talk
something
about
happens
it.
and you're like,
Talk
I didn't
about
want
it.
that line to be there, or now I have to change something else.
Right.
But then on top of that, like people are paying for this, you know, so I'm like, I guess I know me. Like if I'm paying for something, you're gonna deliver what I'm paying for, you know. So I try to treat my customers the exact same way. If I would expect what I want for what I'm paying for, you know,
Right.
what I asked you for. So
Right.
that's what I expect to deliver, you know. And on top of that, like I said, because I do I guess sometimes not believe in myself or whatever, like it does help when you can deliver exactly what they want, you know, and you get that feedback, you know, and you're like, see, I can do this, you know. It's when I make those little mistakes and I have to take it or rework it or whatever, it makes me doubt, you know, like I knew I shouldn't have did, you know, maybe I bit off more than I could chew or whatever, but I mean that's just me, you know. But
I think that's a lot of us.
Overcoming the key to success.
it is.
Right, yeah.
It is.
Oh man, that's amazing. Yeah, you mentioned talking about like having the vision, so like you already in your mind you see it. It's there. You know how big it's gonna be. You know how tall it's gonna be. You know all them little things that you're about to put around it and on top of it and all of that. So sometimes in terms of like the inspiration, because sometimes people can throw in, at least for me personally, I draw realism for the most part. Now I can draw realism in about anything, but every now and then somebody will ask for something like a dragon or or like those don't exist, so I have to improvise. Now I'm smart enough now to I look up maybe some lizards and maybe some bat wings and things like that and combine things. So I guess what I'm getting at for you is, do you have to do that sometimes? Because sometimes the things that people ask for, I can't go find a source image or I can't go find the influence for it. So do you have to just make that up in your own head, or how do you go about that if that happens?
And sometimes you do, like because people tell you what they want and the way they're explaining it, you know, like I have it in my head and I'm like, okay. So yes, you try and find what's in your head, but you can't figure it out, you know, what you're trying to find and go off of what's in your head, like it ain't gonna work, you know. So so you just have to pull it from anywhere you can pull it from, you know, that inspiration to figure it out.
Yeah.
and get it done. My biggest issue is sculpting. People ask me for sculpted cakes, and I'm like, I don't do that. I mean, right now.
That's her biggest doubt.
I don't,
They're the cutest. She's done elephant. She's done, what all have you made?
I've made
I was about
Baby shoes.
Yeah, I saw them baby
Cutest
shoes. I was just about to say, I mean, cuz you're making flowers. Like that's a sculpture. Like literally, it's that's a sculpture.
But
You're
you know
making
what?
petals
It's
and building
crazy
them
because
together.
I've told Ashley before, like, I will try to draw my cake, and if you've seen me draw the cake, like I'm trying to tell somebody my vision, so I'll draw to explain it. Like they look at it and they're like, if that's what it's gonna look like, I cannot draw to save my life. I wish I could draw. But no, so I have to try to explain things. So since I can't explain it, sometimes I have to go on I'll get on Google or something and kind of show them so I want this tier to look like this and this kind of look like this, but except I'm going to change it this way because, I can't draw. It just...
But you can draw well enough to where you can interpret in your mind
exactly.
what that looks
like. So I don't let them see that no more. I just draw them
all that matters. Like you be amazed for real. Like only reason I know this is just from going to school and having enough teachers that have shown me some of these other master artists' source images or some of their pre-drawings to some of the most incredible pieces, and they be especially the architectural ones, because some of those ones they might have an imagination for something, and before it gets to the master drawing and the crisp line work, it's just a whole bunch of scribbles and stuff to the point to where you can't even tell what it is, but they have it, and then it turns into
something
beautiful cakes and cute, beautiful architectural buildings and stuff. There's a lot of artists that are like that. Some of my I do pre-sketches sometimes, and sometimes I think that's really important to do the pre-sketch, because then sometimes you can adjust it in your mind and say, oh, okay, because you literally have you can see it now since you put it on something.
Exactly.
So now say if I put this flower to the right and I'm like, oh, I don't like the flower up there to the right. Maybe I want to put it to the left side of the cake because it looks better on the left side of the cake.
Yep.
I think that's really, really cool.
Yeah, it works for me.
Yeah, I would love to watch your process, and I would be so entertained. it'd be a blast. I think it'd be cool. But we've been talking about the challenges and stuff like that. But could you, if it's possible, to go a little bit more specific on some of those challenges that happen, and it could be really just cutting things wrong or things like that? I'm just, because I don't bake nothing. So just,
most of the challenges that I deal with is sometimes making sure that if cakes don't rise up the way that I want them to rise. For instance, yesterday's cake, the bottom tier, neither cake rose up the way I wanted it to. When I cut it, what I was expecting was about a 5.5, inch tier on the bottom.
Okay.
What I got was a 3.5, because I didn't put enough batter in the pan, which I hadn't used these 12-inch pans in so long, so I wasn't quite sure. And that's still what I'm trying to figure out. I don't, well, everything I do is self-taught, so even sometimes when I do something and I look it up and I'm like, oh, I know how to do, that's what that's called, who knew,
Right. Yeah.
So I think that's one of my biggest challenges. Cakes come out uneven. I think yesterday's cake was a little bit lopsided, but I was able to turn that to the back to fix. Nobody
there you
knew.
go. Right, make the best view possible.
Worry about the fondant
But mostly, yeah. I have one of the biggest challenges is my fondant sculptures.
The what? The what? I'm sorry.
Fondant? So fondant, it's a form of, it's basically what I like, buttercream. It's like an icing. What you see covered over the cakes that make them look really smooth, and what cake decorations, a lot of them are made out of fondant, royal icing, stuff like that.
That's the stuff that goes over the top.
Yes, when the cake looks all pretty and
smooth. Your cakes always look like it's something thick that I have to poke through, and then I get to the cake.
Yes,
Granted,
it's covered in
whatever
fondant.
That is looks like it's fire.
That's basically just, it's a marshmallow powdered sugar mixture. That's basically what it is. But
marshmallows. Oh, I know it's flavored.
Yeah, and you can add flavoring to it. So when I make flowers, I add gum paste to them, which basically makes them hard. So these flowers turn into like glass. A lot of my fondant pieces turn into hard. It's like glass. If you drop them, it's going to shatter. So that is one of the biggest things, is having to make sure that things are in the right place. Like I can't bump into anything. Yeah, this is fondant. Just like little
tissue paper she made.
You should definitely remind me to take a picture of one of these.
Okay.
And then in this moment, that's why I can like actually just put it on the screen. Yeah.
So yeah, like this was actually a piece in the gift box tissue paper.
You don't sculpt. T, like, are you? That's beautiful. Like,
just a little bow. So this is what
you could be.
fondant
You could
made.
if you can do this. You can do ceramics too. You can make like beautiful bowls and all types of really cool cups.
See, I took that class in high school. It didn't work. I don't even know if I passed it.
But you've evolved a lot since then, T.
True.
Like, he wasn't doing this
I
back
wasn't
then
paying
either.
attention
Right, yeah, I wasn't paying attention
I
in
think I
art
made an
classes.
ashtray to get by or something like that.
Right,
but
yeah, I took ceramics in high school.
He did.
That's nice.
Yeah,
That's
so
super nice. Those are beautiful.
yeah, so this is the type of
Yeah,
stuff
it's
that I
really-
do to
it's tough.
Yeah, and I mean we can break this, but I mean this stuff breaks hard, so it falls and it shatters, and I have to worry about that.
But it's all edible.
It's all edible. Yeah, it's all edible. That's basically what it is powdered sugar.
Dang, that's awesome.
So yeah, so I usually do that, and I have to make a lot of extra stuff. But with cakes, I don't make extra. So I'm always worried, like, when I go to cut that top layer off, oh my God, did I bake? Even though I know I bake, I don't even have to guesstimate the time no more. Like, I know this pan is going to take this long. This kind of cake is going to take this long to bake, you know. But I still worry. I'm like, oh my gosh, when I cut open the top, like, is it going to be done? Is it still moist? You know, stuff like that. So those are basically the challenges that I deal with every time I make a cake. Like, there's always challenge. My house. You come over here while I'm making a cake, you better bring a sweater, because I have to keep it cold, because I don't want my icing. You know, when I'm putting my icing on a cake, it has to set a certain way. You know,
factors. How many cakes did you mess up until you realized that?
So many. Like, and that's the thing. Like on one cake, so I would do something, and then it's usually after I delivered, I'm like, if I would have did this, this, and this, then it would have been easier, or I would have saved less time. You know, and so then I'm like, now I know for next time. You know, so.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's ill. That's really ill.
I pretty much mess up on a lot of stuff to learn how to do it, you know.
Right, yeah.
I mean, like I said, everything is self-taught. Like,
Right.
I literally have not taken classes. I buy books. I watch YouTube videos, stuff like that.
Using your resources.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I buy training stuff, and I just learn on my own, so.
Man, that's what it is. You talk that talk, hey, out here, shoot. So I'm holding this. It's an individual fondant. Is that what I would say? Yeah, an individual piece of fondant as my cousin tries to. I'm gonna tease you for this forever now, trying to act like you can't sculpt, and has this super organic shape. Like, I looked at it from a certain angle, and it reminds me of I can't find the angle. The ghost from, not Ghost, but I wish I knew his name. I think his name was Boo in Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh yeah.
The big white, I think the bad guy.
No, I thought he was. Was he
What's
the
his
bad
name,
guy?
Boo?
I think so. I don't know what his name was, but I know what you're talking
You know
about.
what I'm talking about? Yeah, like from like this angle that makes that star type shape, kind of looks like that. But then, like, my art teachers would love this, just because it's super, all the curves and curling into it, and there's so much movement going through with all of the ways that you curved it to make different shapes. It's petal-like in a sorts, but then it almost seems like paper, but paper's super crumbly, so it's smoother than that.
I literally just cut out a square and folded it together and hoped it looked like something.
It's crazy. And now you just do this on the regular. You have just a whole bunch of these.
Yeah.
That's so.
So I use that as tissue paper in one of my cakes. That's what I use that as.
That's clever.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause it can look like paper. Yeah. Oh, for a baby, I'm assuming like
It was so the cake looked like a gift box
a gift
with
box.
the lid looked like it was open and tissue paper was coming out of it.
Ah, that's what's up. So, some of the different fondants that you do and put on the cakes, because these are the toppings, correct? Are there different types of toppings that I'm not aware of, or are all the toppings that you put on, are they all like by nature fondants? But I don't know how to ask that
Fondant
question,
is
but-
just the name of the icing type,
Okay.
basically. Like
Oh, okay.
like buttercream icing, things like that is what
Okay.
what it is.
Okay.
If that's what you call it. But I use it for pretty much all of my decorations on the cake. All the decorations that you see on the cake are usually made of some type of fondant or fondant and gum paste mixture.
So the Cookie Monster cupcakes are like this, but you roll them up into like.
The
roll
Cookie
'em
Monster
up and then
cupcake
stick them on.
was actually icing, just regular buttercream icing, and it was a tip that I used. Yes,
Or like a
that
baster?
came out. So I put it in my tip bag, and
Hey, yeah.
so many came out.
And the
But
eyeballs.
the eyeballs and the mouth of the Cookie Monster
Mm-hmm.
cupcake were made of fondant.
That's ill. That's ill. Alright. So you made cakes with multiple tiers, and you've already talked about earlier on how you got to be concerned with how high it rise up and how putting one on top of the other one can lower it and things like that. So when did you get to the point, because you said you've been baking for about like 6 years, when did you get to the point when you started making multiple layers and multiple tiers?
So really, my first, the wedding cake that I did that Miss Elma had made me do, basically, that was my first tiered cake, and I did not know, like, that you had to put, what are they called? Like rods in between each cake. Like, so basically I have to stick it like these rods inside the middle of the cake and then put the cake on top of that, because the rods keep the cake from smashing
Yeah, it's the
into
foundation. It's like a
Exact-
building, how they have the towers in the corners.
Exactly. So, of course, I didn't know how many I needed to put in there, so the cake started like, when I first set the cake down, it was like tall, and I looked back like, 30 minutes later, and the cake's like 3 inches shorter. I'm like, what is going on? Take those off real quick. But now I know, so as I started progressing and doing more tiered cake, doing more, I guess, learning, as you will, teaching myself and things like that, I learned by trial and error which rods to use in which cakes, how many to use in which cakes,
Right.
and how much weight a cake can hold and things like that. So
Right. So now at this point, do you feel like you have an understanding of like when you already have the picture in your mind of the cake, you already know how many rods it's gonna need depending
Yes.
on. That's
Pretty
what's
much.
up. That's cool. So when you have one layer, so now if you have a second tier, right? You already put the rods in for the second tier. Now you're making a third tier. Do you have to put additional rods on the second tier, or is it all going through?
So basically, like, I have a cake, and then inside, like, I'll take the rods. I measured how tall my cake is. I cut the rods per sides, and I'll put 4 rods in the middle of the cake. Like, I stick them in the cake, and then I put the cake on top, and then I would do the exact same thing. Stick so many rods in that second cake, stick them in
Okay.
there, and then put the cake on top of that.
Okay.
Each cake has a cake board underneath.
Right. What's the biggest cake you've done in terms of height? If you.
I don't know. I think the biggest cake I did was probably the baby shower. Which cake?
What you think?
The wedding cake, wasn't it?
No, I would say I think the baby shower cake, that 3-tiered baby shower cake that I did, wasn't that 3-tiered?
It's 3 tiers. Have you done 4 tiers? 3 tiers. then?
Just 3 tiers
3
is the
tiers.
highest I've done so far.
That's what's up, though.
I'd like to be able to do 4 tiers one day.
Yeah.
But I'd like to be able to do multiple tiers, and I want to learn how to not just sculpt the fondant and stuff like that, but the cakes actually.
Yeah.
To be able to
like
cut
you
the
did
cake.
the elephant.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But not right now because
Why?
I'd be so scared like that
Okay,
it's gonna
that's
mess
good.
up and
Yeah, of course you will. That's what you clearly already said in the process. You'll mess up, and then you'll learn from it, and you'll still get the cake done because that's what you do apparently every damn time.
that
Like,
is true.
yeah, like I'm saying, man. Like, I see all types of like. I feel like your possibilities are endless at this point with the different things. Now that you've learned, if you can get an elephant tusk. And oh wait, not the tusks. Tusks are the horn type things. If you can get an elephant trunk and have it coming down, because that trunk came all the way down, right? It was connected to the bottom. And
That one.
if you can get that, I think you're out here. You can do that in multiple different ways, and yeah, that could be same thing could be octopus tentacles.
Right.
One big ball with your fondant I mean not with the fondant, but with
Cake.
the one big cake ball, yeah, basically, and then just have the arms, just like the elephant. And
Right.
all types of different designs. Yeah, that's
That's the thing with cakes. Like, once you start doing them, you realize that the possibilities are endless with cakes. Like, you can do so much you can turn cakes into so much nowadays. Like, it's not just back, when we was little, all we had were the square cakes. With
right.
Plastic
With
balloons
cool
and the
writing
clown.
on it and
Right.
shit, yeah.
Everything was like red, green, and blue. Like, like the
Right.
primary colors. But now you
Right.
you can do so much with them, and
Right.
it's crazy.
To be clear, green is not a primary color.
Oh, you know what I mean.
Oh, I didn't even catch that. That's funny. Yeah, the only thing primary red, yellow, and blue, right?
Red,
Yeah,
yellow,
yeah,
and blue.
yeah. There you go. A little art quiz of the day.
From the sidelines.
Yeah. So we already talked about it a little bit off, but just to dive into how you get into the not negotiating, because you shouldn't have to negotiate. I think I already said that personally. You have your standard, and that should be respected. If people don't want something else, that's fair. Go get something else. And I dare you to find somebody else who's gonna give you a cake, like my cousin Tiera, like straight up. Like,
Thank you.
yeah, that's fine. Do your own thing. But how do you process in your mind how much each cake is gonna cost?
Well, in the beginning, that was the hardest thing because, you go off what what you purchase and things like that, but then you add in your time and stuff like that. But then it's like, well, is this worth this? Like, is someone really gonna, do I deserve to ask someone for this much money for this, and things like that or whatever. But, so in the beginning, like, I wasn't getting or charging people nearly what I should have, like I'd show
Right.
someone a cake and they'd be like, well, how much did you charge for that? And I tell them and they're like, excuse me, But then once I started realizing, like, no, like, this is what I do and this is what I want to do, like, I'm hungry for this is going to feed me,
Right.
So if I'm putting in 12 to 15 hours a day
Right.
plus working, sacrificing my time for, for this, then you're going to pay not just me, but pay for this product,
Right. For the time and
exactly,
the energy.
for all of that. So now I'm a lot better at it. Pretty much now I price off size, depending on the size of the cake, flavor of the cake. I price that way. I go by number of tiers. If I'm adding, more than one
Smart.
tier on the cake.
Right.
If I have to add if I cover the cake in fondant, you're being charged for that because, of course, fondant is not cheap.
So you got to get a pound of
And
fondant.
right, and you can make it yourself or whatever. But either way, it's not cheap, and it takes time to color it and roll it out to cover the cake and get the lines and the edges just perfect, and things like that. So, of course, I would charge, or add on extra for that. And then I also throw in, my time and the number of decorations and how much how many decorations and things like that are going to be on there, So if I'm working 8 hours throughout the week on top of, what I do for this cake, then I also, I add in that, and then I add in for delivery if I drop off the cake, depending on how far away it is. I charge for that as well.
Wow, your level of detail in that's amazing. See, I'm not nowhere near at that level of that professionalism yet to just automatically in my mind know, especially in advance. Like normally I feel like I have to like kind of dive into it. I've had many times where I've had a time where and I felt so uncomfortable doing it too. Like I'm doing a painting and midway through it as I'm starting to do it, I'm like, yo, this is hard. And like this is taking more time than I was gonna do four for them. But then this one just got my soul. I mean,
Right.
it was my Black Power painting. I call it the Black Power because it was the Obamas, Frederick Douglass.
Oh, yeah, I remember that one.
Oprah, a whole bunch of black heroes, basically. And like as I'm doing that, it's taking forever and it's difficult. And I'm like, yo, like for one, I'm not gonna get 4 of these done in time. I'm getting ready to move to Texas, bro. Like, and 2, like, I think if I'm not doing that, because I was gonna give them like a package deal type thing at first, I think this one that I'm about to just give you is worth a lot more than this original
Exactly,
price.
and you cheat yourself.
Right,
You
yeah.
have to learn how to not cheat yourself. And I still have
Right.
to do that because I'm not the best with, like, well, okay, this, in the beginning, like, I would change stuff all the time. Like, no, this should actually be worth this, or no, this should be but now I'm getting better at that and eventually hope to have, set prices, with my set hours and
Right.
things like that.
I think you could live off of this, T. Like, just
That's what we all
that's the goal. That at least
That is the ultimate
Is that the
goal.
end game for you?
It
Yeah, I'm
is.
about to say I shouldn't selfishly tell you this is what you should be doing, T. Like if you don't want to, then yeah.
No, that is
Right.
the ultimate. Like that's what, especially like earlier when we talked about like that feeling when you know that this is what you're supposed to be doing. When I am working on a cake, regardless of how many times I say I'm done with this, I'm giving it up, or this is too hard, like I can't do that or whatever. Like when I'm working on the cake, like I actually feel like this is what I want to wake up every morning and do. Like
Right.
I don't want to keep getting up and going to work for somebody else.
Somebody else that don't give a
doing
damn
something that,
about
yes,
me or my
exactly,
development.
like,
yeah.
Exactly. Like at
Right.
first, like yes, what I do now, like it is a passion. I do love it. I've done it for so long working in the medical field. I love helping other people.
Right.
But this is what I want, and like you said, I go to work every morning. I wake up and I think it's the fact that I know that I'm working towards something more than what I'm doing, with my cakes. Every morning I get up and one of my first thoughts, I'm like, fuck, I got to get up and go work for somebody who is sitting in an office making so much money off me, who doesn't give a damn that if I don't feel good or what life struggle, what life is throwing
your
at me right
goals
now. You know what
are.
I'm saying? Like they don't care about that. All they care about, because like here we are in Missouri. It's wintertime, snow's coming. I don't like being in the snow. I'm the first one. As soon as I wake up and it's snow outside, that's one of my thoughts. Like I got to go to work for somebody who can call in today with no problems. You know what I'm saying? Like no consequences, but I got to worry about this shit. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like no, that's not what I want to do for the rest. This I know what I want, and because I know that like that's the goal. I give up a lot,
But for
that
what
is
it's
the goal.
and for what it's worth, like at least in my opinion, like it's just my opinion because I can't just say this is facts but as much as I want to because I mean it. Like for what you do and like how, because you want to help people, just like you said, you love to help people, and you do that through other people. But there comes points in our lives when we get the vision of whatever it is that we want to do with our life. I think usually that vision involves helping other people, and I'd argue that this way of helping people with these cakes and these cupcakes and the smiles and these emotions that you produce through each one of these damn cakes is worth way fucking more than any job that any nigga can say this is how much you're worth for this amount of hours.
Exactly.
Nah, like fuck that working for everybody else shit. Like your time is worth way more than what we in our minds think. Like I mean it's kind of a tangent, but it's not, because I think this is just the example of like just how you have an Ashley and you have somebody who pushes you. I love Austin for this. I met this lady she probably won't even listen to our podcast. Shout outs to Miss Samia. She's amazing. One of the nicest ladies I've ever met. Like, she's just so hardcore, straight to the point. She saw me at this gallery, at her gallery, and thanks to one of my best friends, because I'm not about to pull my sketchbook out at somebody else's gallery and be like, hey, look at my stuff, though. Like, nah, but I mean, like, I'm talking and asking questions and stuff, and thankfully for my homie who's pushing me a little bit, he's like, yo, he draws too, don't get twisted. Like, let's see some of the stuff. He's unzipped my backpack. He's the one who told me to bring my backpack. So I always bring my backpack everywhere. Just, I have to. Just
Right, you never know.
Right, exactly. But Carlton pulls it out and shows her this, and she's like, wow, like you have to come back next week around this time. You have to come back next week. And she's talking about like potentially buying a piece. So in my mind, I'm like, yeah, I'm about to get a little change real quick.
Right.
Cool, I'll come back for whatever, but cool. I'm thinking about that for real. And then I go in there and I come back next week and she sits me down and she has these books for me. And she opens them up and it's a whole bunch of other artists, different paintings and all types of work, and she's flipping through and showing me all the realism ones, the people who do realism like me, and she's showing me to them, and like no shade to other people, it's just it's awesome for me because like I feel like I believe in me a lot,
And you're supposed to.
But what this lady was saying, and she flipped through these pages, she's looking at me and she's like, look at these people, like these people are making thousands of dollars like right now, and she's looking at me like, you're better than them.
I think about that all the
Like,
time. Like, you could be, but I've been telling you that forever.
Right,
You
yeah,
could be doing
right,
so
yeah.
much more than you're doing right now.
Yeah, I've been selling stuff for the Lolo and like, and it's so weird. Which this is like a moment I guess I should just document, just cause I haven't shit on the gallery scene, but I was for the first 2 episodes, I'm like, gallery scene is not for me, and I'm good. But between that lady that just told me that, and then one of my other homies on one of my other podcasts, like, just think about it. You only got to sell one for each little show. If you sell one painting for a few $1,000s or something like that, like that's.
But you think that's not for you, but I used to be like that with cakes.
Right.
I only wanted, like I said, I only want to do
Right.
cupcakes. Like, where it's like, well, you can do cakes. No, that's not
Yeah.
for me. Like, that's not what I want to do, you know? But
And those 2 people in those flashes of time just flipped my whole perspective. And the gallery scene song don't sound too bad now. Like, yo, like, just the faith that lady had in me. And it wasn't just she was gassing me, but she's like, you're better than these people. You just need an aesthetic. You just need to put a little abstract in it. And these backgrounds do just something enough to where when people look at it, they know it's yours. Make them big, and you can sell these for thousands. And she called me right before I came to Missouri. Just randomly called me. I didn't even know. Barely picked up because I didn't have her number saved. Excuse me. But she called me and like, just the one moment I remember within the conversation, just like, you need to realize that your hands make gold. Like, as soon as you realize that, you're gonna be a lot better off. Like, and I'm like who says shit like that to people? Like yo, like the faith that this lady has in me it's crazy, and it's just flipped this.
and
this
that's the type of
switch.
stuff that she always says to me. Like,
Yeah,
like
and we need
when
that.
I tell you that I doubt myself and I like,
Right.
I'm like, I can't do, like, I don't come from a background that, has it all and, and
Word.
just, can just, I need this, can just hand you that, you know what I'm
Right,
saying, and stuff
right.
like that, so, it's, it's like, oh my gosh, can I do this? And then you do feel, it's like, well, I don't feel like I have a lot of people believe in me, but still in the back of your mind, you're like, I guess for me, I'm like, well, I've never, I look at other people that do this and I'm like, well, they've gone to some type of school or they've
Right.
done, and I'm like, I haven't done that. But then I look at what I do and I'm like,
You're going to school
but
right
look
now.
at what I'm doing,
You're in
like,
school right now.
right, like I'm learning. And then she's always said, she's like, look at what you do, like,
Right.
look at what you did, like.
Look at how
you
far
can
you've
do-
come off of nothing.
Exactly, she's like, you can do this, like.
Right.
So it does, like you said, it helps, like, because I'm still trying to get to that level where I'm like, you know what, like, I don't give a damn what you say, like, I can't, like,
Yeah.
I'm better than your best,
Right.
so.
Right. And I honestly think that's a product of our environment, really, not just our city, but just the Midwest in general, just
Exactly.
around this little area. Yes, there are some shining areas. Kansas City is awesome in its own rights, and St. Louis has some opportunities as well and things like that. But just in general, small town Missouri, small town Kansas, small town Iowa, around these areas, you don't see too many artists that will look you straight in the face and say, yes, this is worth $3,000. And yes, I'm not backing down on that. What's up? Like, you don't see that many of them. So, like, and for what it's worth, there's probably not, like, I talk about this all the time, especially for, like, ethnic kids, whether it's black or mixed, Mexican, anything. Like, we typically might not have the example of what our dream is. And unless it's to be, like, an athlete, a drug dealer, or a rapper, or some the stereotypical things. Like, so, like, that's tough, like, when you don't have that example, but you just gotta say fuck it and dive in, but you're doing it, yo. Like, you're to levels that are just like, I flex all the time. Like, yo, my cousin is the illest cake and cupcake maker.
I'm the same way with you and your pictures.
Who you talking about? I appreciate it a lot. Like, skies is the limit. I was so excited to do this, but just to get back into, like, just some of the process in general, just some fun things in the process, I suppose. What's, like, one of the hardest cakes that come to mind that you made?
I don't really know if I've had a hardest, because a lot of them have been challenging or are challenging in the beginning, because, like I said, I'd stopped doing this for a while. So mostly what I'm doing, like, a lot of it is new to me, you know, or I don't have a lot of time to practice what I'm doing throughout the week. You know, like, I don't have a lot of time. So like I said, I read up on, usually I figure out what I want to do for a cake. All week long, I'm watching YouTube videos. I make her watch YouTube videos with me. I'm reading up on stuff, looking at pictures and stuff like that. And then that day that I'm working on the cake, that's usually the first time that if it's that's the first time I'm doing it. So I have no other choice but to get it.
So do you have, like, I think this is always cool to shout out if there are any major influencers or those people, like, in the YouTube world, or do you have go-tos on YouTube or those things that you look up? Do you have a few in particular maybe that helped, or a go-to to immediately know that's an influencer, that's somebody that inspires you a little bit?
No, honestly, no, because I literally, like, I look up stuff and I'm like, just watch a couple seconds and go, you know, like, watch a couple seconds.
Oh, you're going fast.
And sometimes I watch it and I don't really pay attention.
You're more so just watching it?
Exactly, yeah. I'm just watching it or whatever.
So you might not even be hearing voices, like, that's irrelevant, because
exactly, I'm
you
trying
don't
to watch
need
what
to
they're
hear
doing,
to know how to make
you know
a
what I'm
cake.
saying? But
damn,
I mean,
deep.
I will say, like, I do, there are some of the videos, like, I honestly can't just throw out a name or whatever, but I can see some of the logos and I'm like, oh, I've watched their stuff before, you know, cool. So, you know, I'm going to watch them again or whatever. Can't really think of names like that to throw out at you or whatever, but I do see logos a lot on Facebook and I'm like, oh, I've watched their stuff, you know, so I'm going to watch, you know, I know that watching them, I'll be able to get this, or they're going to guide me in the right direction or whatever.
You put a logo on your stuff? You got a logo?
No, we don't.
No? What logo up?
I don't have one. I have what I want in mind. I cannot draw.
What do you have in mind?
I don't know, like, I want something elegant but whimsical, but I do cupcakes and cakes. Like, I want something, I don't know.
Do you have a name for your dream business yet? You don't have to. I'm just
Yes. My business name is Caked Up Cakes by Tiera. That's what I go by.
I like that. Caked Up Cakes by Tiera. Caked Up Cakes.
You know, because
you got a good ring up.
When I was first starting, like, that's people would call me, like, well, shout out to Ashley Curry, because she swears that she's the one that named my cake business. But I mean, I beg to differ. But anyways, that's what people would always call me, like, oh, you're caked up, you know. So
yeah,
that's what I ran. I liked it. It had a little ring to it. So
are you wanting something, like, in terms of logo, Or like with those letters, or like with something that incorporates that name, or do you have an image in mind, or
I have like an image, but I want it to also incorporate the name, if that makes sense. Like,
so like
I guess I could like
a-
draw you kind of what I want, and you could take it from there.
something like that. Right, yeah. So like a C. My first thought was like a C with like a up symbol and like another C. But then somehow if there could be like something that identifies that there's a cake in there, that something along those lines. At least that's what was in my mind. But just thinking out loud.
Yeah, but I'm more of like I like sparkle and like cursive, like the pretty script handwriting and stuff like that.
Word.
So that's kind of what I see, or just something. If not that, then just something pretty much not too cartoonish or nothing, because that's not me,
Right. But you want something pretty.
Exactly.
What about a C, a up, and a C in a really fancy, stylish lettering, but just with candles on top?
Oh, that would be cute. But the only thing with the candles is I do more than just birthday cakes.
Word.
I do all occasion cakes. And I also do cupcakes. So really, like, I guess my business name would be Caked Up. That's the main name. And then underneath it would say, or somewhere in there, it would say like Cupcakes and Cakes by Tiera.
Yeah. Or like caked up cakes and desserts, or something that was, yeah. Are you worried about in the image? Does that concern you? Seeing if like people saw like birthday candles, would that concern you with them thinking that it's just gonna be birthday cakes? Personally, I don't know if that would matter.
It probably wouldn't, but like when I see an image, like I see something like if you were to have like a three-tiered cake and have it drawn like the outline, and then on the inside, like when the cake comes around, on the inside of the cake it would be the outline of a cupcake, like all pretty much one image in one. Do you see what I'm saying?
You want a 3-tier cake with a cupcake in there and the letters where do you want the letters in terms of that part?
The letters pretty much like either,
or if you even want letters. Sorry.
Yeah, well, I just, not letters, just my name, just the Caked Up and the words Caked Up by Tiera. I haven't really thought about letters though. But really, whenever I think about a logo, that's the only thing I think about, and I haven't really had any. Someone's given me a couple ideas, but they really weren't me.
Yeah, it'll come in time. It'll come. I think just something. I think the logos at their best are usually pretty simple. It just has to be just effective enough to where when they look at it, they know exactly what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah, or at least they know exactly who that represents. They don't confuse it with anything else. When they see that, they look at that. When you see the green diagonal stripe and the yellow stripe on a can, it's Sprite. You just know. You see the blue can, it's a Pepsi or a Bud Light.
Exactly.
You know. It's just
Exactly.
something simple.
Do you have a logo?
Yeah. I want another one though. I've had another one drawn up for a while. Yeah, I have a friend that whipped up a logo. Shout out to Laura White. I believe she got married, and I don't know the last name. Congratulations, Laura, but yeah, forgive me. But Laura White whipped up a really cool logo for me. It's just my track star signature, and she put like lanes on the bottom of it, but it has a little perspective on it, so it looks like it's going down. So it's just my name on top of like a little track, looks like 4 lanes. And
Oh, okay.
yeah, just something little simple. But I also want something that's like a T and a S, and just some cool little design, a T and a S, just short for track star, with like stars, like a shooting star type effect going like around it, but then like fading out into like a C
That'd be
pattern of
dope.
sorts. Something. Yeah, I want something simpler than what I have right now.
Right.
Yeah, I got the drawing for it. I'll probably ask her eventually, but
To do.
just ain't been in a big rush because I already have one, and I don't feel like that's of the supreme importance yet. So
Right.
yeah, because Lord knows we got budget for these other creations and stuff. Shoot.
Always a budget.
Word. I'm trying to think about any other like memorable moments that you might have had within doing these cakes or these cupcakes? Or when did you start incorporating the cupcakes? Forgive me if you already said this.
I actually started with cupcakes. I started with cupcakes, and then I, like I said, Miss Elma had asked me to do that wedding cake, and then other people asked me like, "Oh, do you do cakes?" And I was like, I mean, I could try.
Right.
And so I tried. I started with the little character cakes, using the little star tip, which is just the decorator tip that I use with the icing. The star number 21 tip is what I used. I literally started with maybe 5 decorators tips. That was all I could use. And now I have 2 cases with probably about 60 different tips.
How many cakes do you think, if this could probably vary too, because different seasons and stuff like that, but how many cakes do you think you make in like a month, if you could?
Well, I don't do many cakes throughout the weekday.
Oh, okay. Weekends when you really get down.
Exactly, because I work.
Right, it makes perfect sense.
All besides, I'd say November, I think pretty much most of this year I've done cakes every weekend. Like I've worked 7 days a week. I haven't had a day off.
Wow, that's so dope. Not the not having a day off part, but that rate.
I mean, there are weekends where I've thought, I'm like, oh yeah, I don't have a cake to do this week.
Awesome.
And then I look at my planner and I'm like, oh shit. I do have a cake.
Yeah, put them in a planner. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to start doing that because I'm getting invited from just doing so many drawings of different yogis on Instagram. I'm getting invited to some of these challenges that a lot of them do, and it's just a really generous opportunity for more followers, honestly, because they make me a sponsor of sorts. All I got to do is just pick one winner out of that, whatever the hashtag. Because when you hashtag something in Instagram, when you hashtag something or on anything, if you click on that hashtag, it'll go to literally every single hashtag that anyone has ever done. So also with that, and I'm gonna give other people a plug too as well. If you create your own hashtag, like as soon as we're gonna do that actually, after we're done with this and getting your Instagram, we'll do caked up cakes, or we'll find something that nobody else has. So every post you have, at the end of your post, whatever your caption is, you put that on there. Mine, Trackstar Art. Anybody, if you want to, the effects of this, Google Trackstar Art, and now that is, most of those images as you scroll are going to be mine for quite some time.
That's what's up.
And that's the effects of a hashtag. And I kind of went on a tangent to stunt a little bit and to just drop a gem, but at the same time, like, I've been getting invited to different challenges with those people that do the hashtag for whatever the theme is. And all I gotta do is pick one and draw it. And usually I'm so inspired that I really pick like 3 or 4 because I'm like, oh my god, that photo is just amazing. Like I'm feeling it. The older I get, that I see something and it just speaks to me, and I'm like, wow, like I gotta try that, and boom, just go for it. I've found this curiosity in things that I have not done before, and I think that's why I ultimately love art, for me at least, because it's like I used to love video games, and with the way I treat video games, once I beat the game, I'm done with it. That's it. But I can't beat this game. I can continue. You can never beat art. You just you'll always literally get better if you just keep trying. So I'm not really hearing it when anybody says, all I can do is a stick figure. Well, that's what literally every drawing starts with, a stick figure line drawing. Like, yeah, and then just
I remember your first drawings, like you have evolved. But your first drawings, like, I was like, who knew he could do this?
Yeah, my dad didn't know for the longest because I never did it in front of him.
That's crazy.
I think I always did it in scenarios when I probably shouldn't have been, like classes and over at somebody else's house or something like that. But
you always had your pad?
Yep, always. Always. Well, I normally would just doodle in just whatever my notebooks are, my school notebooks and stuff. When I just tear out the papers. I draw on line paper until college. And then I finally was like, oh, this is better than I thought it was going to be. I might want to start putting this on some better stuff, start taking care of some of this stuff. I've got a couple portfolios. And do you have photos of, like, all of your cakes? And
I do.
That's
I
what's
do.
up. You should
There
definitely
are
have them saved somewhere, like on hard. There you go.
Yeah, I'm gonna start making photo books about my cakes.
Yeah, that's what I
There are
was about to
some
get at
that I
too.
missed
Yeah, that's
pictures of,
awesome.
and if if I'm here by myself, I have too much to do, and I don't have anyone to remind me to take a
Right.
picture.
Right, I forget to take progress pics sometimes too. Sometimes you zone out and you're like, damn, that just transformed on me. Like, yo, like where
Yep.
did the
So I
time
drop
go?
it off, and I'm like either taking a couple pictures, or I tell them, "Can you take 2 pictures or a few
Right.
pictures and send them to me, please?" So,
Right, yeah.
But yes, I am building my portfolio.
That's
So
awesome. That's super cool. So where do you see yourself going ultimately, or like what's in your mind, whether you think you can do it or not? What is your ultimate goal with these cupcakes? I think we kind of alluded to it, but I think just to throw it out there.
my goal, I want to shop. That's what I hope to open. What I want is like a cupcake shop that also specializes in my specialty cakes, and and cakes, daily flavor cakes and things like that.
Right.
But I want it to be to where you can come in and sit down and have a slice of cake or a cupcake and a glass of wine or a cup of coffee, a cup of cappuccino,
and
all types of
coffee.
flavored, cappuccinos and stuff like. Because not everyone wants to just go to dinner. What if you just want to go and have some dessert and
little date.
a drink? Exactly.
I like that.
So that's my goal, but to still be in the back shooting out these, big tiered special cakes, things like that. That's what I want.
That's cool. Do you picture yourself like this being like a small mom and pop store, and like just you in there doing your own thing?
No.
Or just you picture having a minions that?
Yeah, I want a few I don't want anything like, of course, I hope to have more than one of these, but I want to start off, of course, with just one. But I want a small amount of helpers, but I don't want nothing big. Like I'm not looking for something with 50. I want a small shop that has maybe 10 employees, With as far as my cakes, it'll be me, and I'm looking for an assistant, one other person,
Right.
Of course, when I have my little cake restaurant, I'll need people to run the register, so I'll have a couple people doing that.
Which is another reason why you deserve to shoot for the stars on any pricings for each cake too. Because then at that point, that's a whole nother calculation.
Yeah, you got to pay people.
'Cause they got to get paid too. Right. So
Yeah, and taxes is only going up.
Oh, word. Yeah.
So
I really like that. I think that's really clever. That's super clever. I dig it. I definitely stand by it. I think that'd be dope.
thank
I
you.
hope I can get the logo to be on that bad boy and be like, hey. But even if not, I don't care. You my cousin. I feel like I'm winning regardless, just cause like I know her.
Oh, that's how I feel about you. Like, well, go ahead
Yes.
and blow up, because I'm be like, I know him.
Right, yes. It's crazy. Like, yeah, I saw basically from the ground up. It's nuts. It's crazy.
It is, isn't it?
I feel like, I don't know. I feel like my mind's racing with if I'm missing anything or any other questions or whatever. If there's anything that you in particular want to get out or whatever, I guess a good space for that. Because I think
I think you've hit like every single area.
that's what's up. Because I don't know nothing about baking. Inorganic, for a lack of a better term, in my opinion, to try and just hop right back in exactly the same. But I mean, anyway, we got to all that anyways. So, I mean, it's been a pleasure to say the least. This was a 2-for-1 for me, just because it's fam and I get to know fam on a individual basis even more.
Right.
So that's awesome, and just getting to help produce something. So I really appreciate you being open to it, because I knew you was like, oh, I don't know what we're about to do, but
Right, I was a little confused, but I mean,
yeah, of course,
like you said, your family, anything, I'm happy to do it.
Yeah, well, I appreciate the hell out of it. We're gonna put some pics on this to make sure that people get to see how out here you are and keep this bad boy pushing. And then I come back next. Hopefully, I can do this every year. Come from Austin and come back at least for wherever I'm at
Yeah, and see
around
where
this
we're
time for about a year, right? And then do another episode just to just to update people what's been going on, let people in on the growth, different things we learned. That's always really, really cool.
Right.
But thank you to the YouTube viewership. Anybody that listens, anybody that just watches, just to watch, anybody that clicks on even for a little bit. If you subscribe, I appreciate that as well. Any attention that's fed to the Artist Podcast, I greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much. It's another episode, and we out this hoe.